Howdy, everyone. It's Sunday, and we're going into a little bit of a podcast on the Love Foundry itself, which is sponsoring all of this as a charitable organization that is dedicated to bringing the power of love into the conscious awareness of humanity on an individual and personal basis. We're all students of it. And so what I'm looking at here, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I'll tell you what I think, and then we'll see how it happens as we get feedback and involvement from people who are interested. The power, we're in a full moon, day after the full moon of Leo. And so there's a tremendous amount of energy and fire and power in the inner world right now. And that's pushing out into the outer world, and all kinds of events are going on, which claim our attention as, oh my God, this, and oh my God, that. But that's actually all material effect to causes that are going on in the spiritual world of the soul, the world soul. And those causes are being animated by the power in the world soul and all the individual souls that we all enjoy as self from a source in us called spirit. And spirit animates as the reality of our individuality. In other words, your first individuality is created in the world of spirit. And from there, the world of spirit unfolds itself into the world of soul engagement, which is a kingdom spanning a lot of levels, wherein the energy of love governs every individuality in it at that level, as it governs the level of spirit at the spirit of love, or the essence of it, or the origin of it. And then in turn, as we manifest our personalities in the human world, we are animated by material energies and forces, but not by any consciousness of love. We simply don't know how to make ourselves conscious of the power of love in our own human awareness so that it can become an animating energy and thereby bequeath to us the gifts of love that are already in us in the inner level that would make living life a joyful and absolutely positive production. So while humanity is growing up into those lessons, and we're at the verge of a very major step into it in the Aquarian age. A step sounds like it's something you're going to take in a few minutes because you're climbing the ladder up to the top of the tower or something, but it's actually a step that takes 2,500 years just to get it anchored in human revelation or unfoldment so that we can begin to empower ourselves in a way that aligns our personal power, our personal will, our personal purposes as individuals to the greater purpose, power, and individuality that is the divine being manifesting the universe through itself, as we are manifesting our personal lives through ourselves. So there's a correlation there, but it's a correlation that we cannot experience with the same kind of fullness and joy as the creator of all experiences, because love is a unknown energy to most of us, and certainly doesn't live in us as a power released into dynamic activity. That has to happen over time as we learn its relevance. We learn how to achieve an alignment to it, a posture and relationship to it, and let it have moment in us. Let it have some activity in our nature. So that's all coming into the human race, and the Love Foundry is a step in that direction to lay some foundations for us in the learning of how to invest ourselves in that freedom. Now, the premise that we build that upon in our own experience from having lived some time in the world is that everyone must do this of their own free will. No one's going to show up, wave a magic wand, and you automatically have these things. These are things that, because of their enormity of potency and power and the transformations they bring us into as we approach reality as it is being lived and enjoyed by the greater consciousnesses of the universe, as we move towards and into that, these stupendous changes that are going to occur in our own self-awareness require that we make the choices about them of our own free will. In other words, love is under a restriction, which it either gives itself or was given to it by that power or being which created love in the first place, which is that you will not violate human free will because we have it. We were given it for whatever reasons, not that we have used it wisely up to this point in time. We certainly have not. We've used it for every diabolically stupid thing we could possibly imagine, and we're roaring along, still doing it pretty much. We're not even trying really to harmonize our creative power, our free will, to the conscious free will of God, divinity, the universe, Gaia, or love itself. We just simply have given ourselves the license to be juvenile delinquents. And we're paying a price for it. Short-term price and a long-term price. Disease, chaos, war, famine, all these problems of failing civilizations, which we're in right now, are all attributable to our inability to manifest love in ourselves as a creative power, which demands a certain amount of respect. But we are learning. We are learning slowly, and we've had some good teachers. It's hard to remember the lessons sometimes. They go way back in antiquity, like Hermes' Emerald Tablet, as above, so below. We don't know what that means, mostly, but it was a major lesson of the day to the thinkers of the world, way back in Egyptian, Chaldean days. And before that, the Buddhists were getting their feet on the ground with understanding the Yoga Sutras and how to perfect the mind. And then along came the Greeks who were teaching us how to philosophically live with one another in a self-governing involvement and develop some intellect. And then we had the advent of Golgotha, which is the culmination of the great gift of the Jewish culture to produce a human being from Abraham to Jesus who could be perfect enough to be embodied by love itself, the great universal beingness as a human being in him, and be able to function intelligently, willfully, calmly, and demonstrate the vast properties that love could give a human being should we ever to avail ourselves of its relationship to us. So all of that's been going on, and the civilization since Jesus has been wrangling and struggling and fooling around with trying to understand how that works in real time. Not the fantasies of Jehovah or the God that's outside of the human being, But this new revelation that it's all inside a human being, and how that can work when the material scientists will tell you there's nothing inside of us but atoms of this and that and the other thing. So that's all a mystery. Up to this point, it's been a mystery, which is not science's fault, because they are working with brains, human brains, and they don't have any choice but except to be limited by the material capacity that the atoms of our brain offer us. So these are struggles that humanity pushes up against, and we don't know how to go further with them until we fight our way past the boundaries of them. Like these circles here, we start out somewhere with an inner one, and then we get to another one and another one and another one and another one and so on, until finally we take territory greater than we're born into. And we're at the threshold of a great revelation in consciousness, which is going to change how humans think. Now, other revelations have changed how humans think in greater or lesser magnitude and speed and time. It's been 2,000 years since the crucifixion of Jesus at Golgotha. And so we're just beginning to realize that love isn't just an emotional attitude. It's an actual living presence inside the human nature, which can be interacted with, cooperated with, fused with, introduced to, whatever you want to think of it as. It has real moment inside of every human being. And no matter what any human being does to deny that, to cut it off, to act as if it weren't true, to become the Marquis de Sade or some other character of malevolence in the world, you cannot either eliminate your individuality, your free will, or your relationship to love. The damnable thing about love is it loves you no matter what you do, no matter where you are, no matter the circumstances you find yourself in. As a conscious being, love is right there with you, willing to love you. But your free will is also right there with you, and it must tiptoe over and open that door and let love in. And that's never going to change. So what we're going to learn to do is make a clear decision about how we feel about all that. Do we want to let that amazing power, that amazing life, that amazing energy, and all of the lives that are packed up in that energy that have already made that choice to be at harmony with love, are we willing to let that universe enter into and take over the universe that we're living in, where love is just sort of a vague idea, and we can take it one day and reject it the next day, and we can love this guy but we can hate that guy, and we can do all of that stuff that love never does. And when we are fully surrendered into its world, we don't do either. So that's what lays before the human race right now. And fortunately for the human race, most of us, not all of us by any means, but most of us will choose to do that. We'll weigh all of the considerations and consequences in our free will, and we'll say, you know what? I got nothing to lose with love except the blues. So why don't I do that? And you go, well, wait a minute. What's love going to do? Love has power. It has properties. It has transformation as its basic natural automatic energy. Do you want to be transformed by love? You go, well, what's it going to transform me into a frog or a daisy, or what's it going to do? What kind of transformation are we talking about? And it's going to awaken you to love's reality in life as self. You see, that's a profound thought. So think that through. If love awakens you through transformation to an awareness of love as reality in life, as yourself, because you are a creation of life. So whatever properties life has, you have. And you can't pick and choose. Life has will, so you have will. Life has intelligence, so you have intelligence. Life has love, and we don't know that yet. But we can have that, just like that. Those are the three that life has offered us so far. And life has many more properties we can assume to offer us slowly and gradually over time in this cosmic physical universe, which is where all of life is expressing itself as a unified, complete opportunity. So in our world, we can choose this to have its impact on us and thereby be affected by love, be transformed by love into harmony with love, and then eventually identification with love as self, so that we in love become part of the one life that is life. And maybe by that point in time, we will have some understanding of what God is and how we can have a relationship with it through love, through will, and through intelligence. Those three. And that, by the way, love applied intelligently with will is what defines wisdom. So love being the creative energy, when we apply that creative energy with will and intelligence, it becomes wisdom. Because it becomes harmless not just to ourselves, but to the wholeness within which we express it. Because love is a unifying power throughout the universe. Every being that has it and lives the laws of love because of recognizing it as self is harmless to all other lives. That's just how life rolls. So in the Love Foundry, we're not teaching that. We're talking about that. We're revealing some ideas about it. But the only way that sticks in us and makes it our business and not just some thought in our brain mind is if we ease into the universe and interact directly with love. Then you'll know. Then love will explain itself to you. Then your free will have an opportunity to say, thanks, I'll have some. You already have will, you already have intelligence, and you already have as much love as you've been willing to allow into your conscious life. Now, unconsciously, it's everywhere. It's like oxygen. You just take a breath and you breathed in as much love as you possibly can hold in your lungs at that particular moment. So it's not like that you have to invent it or create it or allow it into your room. It's already in the room. It's the elephant in the room. Recognizing it consciously is what gives it permission to function with you when you agree with it. When you say, I'll take some. And then love says, okay, here, have some. Now, it can create tremendous radical effects in our life when we let it have power in us. And that's a long period of adjustment because we have attached ourselves to a lot of things that love will transform and change and possibly destroy in us. An attachment to evil, an attachment to selfishness, an attachment to getting pleasure out of watching other things suffer. Things like that love releases because they are functioning in an absence of love or they wouldn't exist in us. Cruelty is an absence of love. If you put love into ourselves, then cruelty becomes impossible to us. We are so impacted by the idea of deliberately harming something for pleasure to the point where the hand would just stop and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't care what anybody thinks of a skunk. I'm not going to shoot it, particularly in my living room. So that's kind of what we can expect love to do, make changes in us that bring us into a more harmonious balance with all life on every level, visible and invisible. That's what its nature is designed to do. Now, at the Love Foundry, I'm looking at the lesson of that. It's one huge lesson. So I'm thinking, and that huge lesson involves some very simple and fundamental things that put us in a posture in relationship to love that allows it to come in and express through us into our life. And by that actual theater of our own life expressing love, we come to know it. We come to realize our desire for it, our agreement with it, our interest in increasing its impact inside of us, in the greater life that's being lived through us, on others, and in the inner life that starts to open up as a result of doing that, that's in the spiritual world where love prevails, and in the spirit world where love is the dynamic power. That's all inside of us and available to us and open to us when our consciousness, step by step, with free will, desires to unfold it like a book. Just like reading a Hardy Boy book or Seven Gables or any romance novel. It's going to be there, page after page, as we unfold ourselves into a living universe dominated by love. Not a decision to use love when it's convenient or when someone deserves it or when it's handy. That's a myth. There's no such thing. There's no such God. There's no such goddess. There's no Mother Nature never withdraws her love of her children. And the Father of all things in the universe, including love, has no desire to withhold it from anything ever, under any circumstances, or to use it to punish anyone ever under any circumstances. That's our creation, not life's creation. But because we are life, we have created it in our world in a way that makes it look freaking godlike. Sorry, capital punishment. You did the whole family in, so we're going to have to kill you. See, so you're going to do to me what I did to them. Yes, because you deserve it. You see, that kind of thinking just doesn't exist in the world of love. Now, why wouldn't it exist there? And capital punishment is maybe one of the simplest things to see once we understand anything at all about how the universe works or love. Number one, everyone is deathless. You can kill a person's body, but you can't kill them. The body may have pulled a trigger, but somebody told it to. Somebody living in that body said, pull the trigger. So when you kill that body, you drive out of the body that being that was living in there. Now, where does it go? Well, we don't know a lot about that because we can't see what happens after death easily. It can be seen, and there are those who can look there, but not very many at this stage. And so we have stories about it. We have maybe the best renditions of it in the Hindu and Buddhist texts, where they have made it their mission centuries ago to see the whole circle of life. Origin, birth, life, death, back to origin, and then the renewal of it in the reincarnation sense of life. That might be the best, actually, intelligent perspective. If you look at the Christian perspective, it's got a few holes in it. It's a little weak. Not because Jesus didn't understand the circle of life. I'm pretty certain that he did, but he didn't say much about it that was easy to interpret. He talked about life after death and demonstrated it, but he didn't talk about the whole process. I don't think that was his job. His job was to demonstrate love as reality. Over on the Buddhist side of it, their job is to educate you about how things work so that you, in the end, can be smart enough to surrender yourself to love when you get the opportunity to do so, which is here now. It's here and now. And at the Love Foundry, we're opening up a way in which someone who wishes to experience that in their life can adopt a posture, a process, a way to function in their daily life, whatever their daily life is. I don't care if you're playing piano in a whorehouse. It makes no difference to love. None at all. Because love loves you. And love is transforming you through its own powers of love as you let it in into someone who is not only receptive to love, but will eventually identify with love and then realize you are a creation of love, therefore you are love. The Father and I are one. That was the expression of Jesus. And he who has seen me has seen the Father. God is love. All of those statements have meaning. They have meaning to the person who made them, meaning that was understood by that person and by those persons who stood around and could had the same depth or similar depth. So I'm looking at this as 3 lessons in one. That's why this is the Love Foundry, Lessons on Reality. Any life, well, any human life, let's don't talk about the animals and the flowers and the plants. Those are lives, but they're lives unconscious of love because they don't have enough self-conscious awareness to recognize that love is a thing. Humans have that. We are the 4th kingdom of nature. If you're looking at circles like this, there's the, just graphically, there's the first, which we might, I'm reversing it kind of, but because this is the material kingdom out here. All of these, of which there are 7 major ones, and not in this picture, but if we count the little itty bitty inner one, then we got 7. Out here in this purple cloth out in the background, that's the substance out of which life builds the cosmic physical universe, which is all 7 realms or kingdoms or fields of differentiated conscious activity. And at the very, except in the real universe, not the one depicted in the material universe, in the real universe, this is the material universe out here, which is the skin of the universe, which is where we live in the material world. We are the skin of it. When we look out at all of the planets and asteroids and the vastness of space and the stars that are burning out there, that's all physical matter going on, gas and things. That's the cosmic physical universe. Next inside of that is the cosmic astral or emotional universe. One level up or one level in. But the unique thing about the geometry of the true universe, not the brain universe of material creation, is that it gets bigger as it goes in towards the center, not smaller. See, in the material world, we think because it's a solid object, it has defined boundaries, and the outer boundaries are the outer boundaries. And then within it are things like the liver and the lungs and the heart, and those all have to be smaller because they're inside of it. So we think that the universe inside of the skin of the universe has to be smaller as it goes towards its center. But that's not a conception in quantum geometry. Now, how does that work? Well, you have to see it to believe it. And when you do see it, when you enter in and go, oh, Christ, this is way bigger than the outer, then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess somehow that can be. Somehow that spatial geometry, as we go up in frequency, as we go deeper into purpose and meaning, it gets freer and bigger and more open and greater lives and all of that. So when we look at Jupiter out here in the physical Jupiter, we have a planet. But Jupiter itself, in its astral body, its mental body, its buddhic body, its atmic body, its logoic body, and at the very center, or its monadic body, and at the very center, its logoic body, is way bigger, bigger and bigger as it goes deeper and deeper. So that the center of life, the very center of life, which is in this little circle here, the spirit of life is actually everywhere and way bigger than any of the outer form. It's the highest ether in which everything appears within it, getting smaller and smaller as we go out to the physical outer place out here. Sorry, I can't go towards the screen without screwing it up. As it goes out here to the physical, it gets denser. And as it gets denser, it gets more compressed. And so we think of it as the reverse of what it actually is. But that's not something you have to worry about, because the geometry of the divine being is fine. It's built the way that being wants it, and all we can do is grow into consciousness of it. And the moment we take on the consciousness of love and enter into that kingdom, all of that becomes obvious to us, because we see the lives that are there. We see the frequencies. We see the differentiations. And we recognize, hell, that's all inside of us. Each of us in this outer realm is a pinhole opening into all of these other dimensions. And when we start calling them dimensions, then we kind of start to let go of this need for them all to be solid structural things, except that they do have structure. They've got frequency, and they're all alive, because life's created all of them, and they're all lives that are growing and evolving, as are we. And the complexity of life's thought life, how it's working out its cosmic geometry, is something you can stare at and be amazed by for thousands of years and never fully grasp all that's going on in it, because it's just simply been going on so long, and it is so complicated, and it is so vast. And yet in it, you are as important as any other life in it, big or small. You are as loved as any other life in it, big or small. And the human kingdom, the fourth kingdom in it, is as important to its survival, its maintenance, its total beingness, its aliveness as any of the other kingdoms. And inside each of us, living in the fourth kingdom out here in the material world as humans, are all the other kingdoms. We have something in us of all of these, all the way to the center, and including this circle here, which is the monadic circle, where your individuality is first created by life, not as a thing, but as a whirlpool of essences from outside of this entire cosmic physical universe, from out there where life lives and creates it, and still, having created it, retains its presence out there, sustaining it. See, we are a creation of life itself. Now, God is here with us in the creation, all these creations, these wheels within the wheels within the wheels, maintaining it, developing it, carrying the purpose for which it was created out to fruition, and perfecting every single life in it to love. That's what that being is doing, that we would think of if we want to have a conscious, actual, relevant thought about what God is and what God's doing. He's the administrator of the entire cosmic physical universe through all the other lives in it, to the degree they can cooperate through love with that being, perfecting everything in it to love. Now, that's not the end of the all purpose. It's the current purpose this universe is enacting, because it's not finished. An enormous amount of these inner levels and the beings whose consciousness is centered there, active there, our consciousness is centered out here. But other beings' consciousness is centered in these various levels. And they have already figured out that love is the animating purpose of the divine life from way out there. So it's in harmony with it. We aren't in harmony with it. We're arguing every day. Love this person, hate that person, love Trump, hate Biden, love Biden, hate Trump. Whatever you're doing, you're just playing at illusions. Because you're thinking you can do either one. You think you have a choice. Well, it looks like we do have a choice. I can strut around saying, I don't like Jews, I don't like Pygmalions. I just don't like stuff, and stuff I do like because it's friendly to me. Acting as if you were some prehistoric god from the old days when we thought there was some big daddy out there doing the whole thing for us, treating us like we were its flowers in its garden, its toys to play with, or its current idea of what would be fun. What we're beginning to understand more as we mature more is that we're not going to, this whole idea that you throw God out because you don't need that concept anymore, that's a little rash, considering all the incredible beings who have supported the concept of God, who have lived before us and done the things that allow us to be the civilization we are. It might be more practical to change our consideration of what we mean by the word G-O-D. That could be a place to start. And if you run out of that, if you come to the place where you realize God is a limitation to your thinking as an administrative concept of the universe, then you can go outside the universe like the Buddha did out here, where God is transcended. See, this is God transcendent. There's no God out there. There's life out there. But life out there is being life. Now, who it is in that life that cooked up the idea of creating a universe, we have no idea. Maybe it's life itself. Maybe it's just somebody playing with life. But having created a universe, or a star in that universe, or a galaxy in that universe, or a constellation in that universe, that life enters into that constellation or galaxy or star or human being in it and becomes a part of this cosmic physical universe. Remember, the physical plane is the bottom of the story. It's everything out there being that. And that's where we are. We're living out there in it. So it needs an administrator, and it's a group administration. It has a hierarchy because somebody has to administer the whole thing. But within that administration, according to the laws of love, which are harmlessness and unity and other qualities like that, there is autonomy of a kind. Our solar system has a certain sort of independent development of its own going on. And the planets within that solar system are cooperating with other stars and other energies and other beings in the universe, but it's kind of under the management of the solar life that is this solar system. So I don't think you're going to just decide, like some science fiction movie, you're going to come in and terraform Pluto and turn it into something that people from Ganymede or some other star system can come and live on. You might find yourself being nudged on the shoulder by the solar being whose solar system it is that says, excuse me, that's my kid you're fooling around with. I don't need him terraformed into your idea of an ideal place to live. He's growing up on his own, and he's got his own project in mind. So why don't you just visit, maybe build a little outpost, hang out for a while, and then we'll talk about what we can work out together later as a project if we want to. And by the way, who sent you here? Ganymede sends you here and say, go over there to the Sol's system and screw around with one of his planets because I'm pissed off at him? No, I don't think that's going on in the universe. It might look like it from a distance, but there's more cooperation than that. So without going further into the cosmology of the universe and how all life works with itself within that cosmology, suffice it to say that love is a very important quality of life throughout the universe, that some of the universe, particularly down here at the bottom, remember this is physical, next is astral, the emotional worlds, next is mental, and half of the mental and all of the astral and all of the physical are still not vibrationally surrendered to love. Now we have bodies that live in this next level up here, the Buddhic, and we have a portion of our nature that lives in the Atmic and a portion that lives in the Logoic, and the Logoic is being sustained from completely outside of the universe by life itself. But our human nature is taking form out here in the physical with an emotional body and a mental body. And those three bodies put together create a personality. And that personality is named, in my case, James Daniel McTagg, who is partially conscious. And that's all, partially conscious, and a little bit conscious of the higher mental, the Buddhic, the Atmic, the Monadic, and I know about, but I'm not conscious of, the Logoic. And this out here where the Buddha's hanging out these days, completely outside the cosmic physical universe because of his astounding magnificence, I know nothing about. And very few in human form do. But some do. Like the Buddha, there are some who they get up in the morning and they think about all of this. They think about the whole thing and their relationship to all the lives that relate to each one of these different wheels. We don't have to worry about that. But out here in the frontier, it's time for us to concern ourselves with love because we have it inside of us. And the fourth kingdom of nature, which is the human, see, mineral, animal, plant, human. That's the fourth kingdom of the seven. It's our job to bring as above to below, to bring love through us and show it to animals, plants, and minerals that have no idea what it is. They have no capacity to avail themselves of it because if it's not in their instinctual nature, it just doesn't exist for them. But if we help them grow, help them evolve, treat them with courtesy and respect and humility, they can grow into it like we did. You think you started out a human being? You start out where everything starts out, at the beginning. And now you are living in the fourth kingdom, which means you must have a past, not necessarily a personal past, but a group past at least, because plants and animals, they come in group form. That's why you have a herd of bison. It's one soul group manifesting as a part of all the soul groups that make up the animal kingdom, manifesting for a period of time through buffalo, through hippopotami, through dinosaurs. And eventually, when they finish the experience they need as dinosaurs or hippopotami or buffalo, they will withdraw from experience in the world and die out, and the buffalo are almost gone, the hippopotami are almost gone, the dinosaurs are gone, except for the little miniature lizards that have been created out of those ancient genes. And so what happens to those lives? Do they end? Do they just disappear out of this universe? No. They just take a next upward step, and then they incarnate through turtles, maybe, or salamanders, or whatever the next step up is for any life. And a naturalist would concern himself with what those steps are, and will in the future. We don't so much now because we don't see that the animal kingdom has an evolutionary ladder within itself, and not all of it is on the same step, just as humans vary considerably between one level and the next in ourselves, not one race and the next, although there is a correlation between older races and newer races. The Aryan race takes a lot of heat because it's the latest one. It's the latest one to come around. And because it's come around and because it's smart, it's physically pretty well formed, and it has certain abilities, it's the new kid on the block. He can do Joe Montana, throw a pass, and in 2 minutes win the Super Bowl when he's 2 touchdowns down. So it's not that that can't be done by someone of another race. It's just that this race has a lot more in it because they've come out of those earlier races and matured their way upward to say, I want in the new guy. I want to be part of the new deal. I can handle more fluidity in my brain. I can handle more energy in my emotional body. I can handle a better physical coordination. And so they push their way into these new sub races, these new root races that come along. And unfortunately, if they lack heart, if they lack the nature of love, infusing them, they can do cruel and heartless things to the other races that are their brothers and sisters that they should be treating with more courtesy. And the white race today in the world has had a lot of discourtesy towards other races. Now, it got discourtesy back, but that's not the point. The point is that being the new kid on the block, the more advanced person in the group, you should be more advanced in love. That would be the hope of the side. That would be the logical idea. And that will happen. It will happen and it won't happen to just the white race or any other specific race. And by the way, to assume that the black race is other than most of the people in the white race simply because it comes out of Africa or comes out of Angola or some other place isn't necessarily true. We don't know how these genes work because it's spiritual. To unfold a human being in our cycle of genuine maturity from the beginning of the human race to the end of the human race, we will become responsive to 7 different, what are called in the esoteric world, spirili, but they're energetic, active energies inside the atom that makes a human being. We are an atom of our own kind. And to mature one fully to the point where it's fully open, functioning, and all aspects of it are kicking, that takes millions of years. And when we arrive at that, love is one of the things that will already have been unfolded in it, along with a full mind consciousness and other qualities that we haven't even thought about. The ability to realize ourselves as part of every other part of the universe at the same time, and still have our individuality, as does the Buddha, as does the Christ, as does everyone else, Hercules, and all the others. So opening ourselves up to this path of progress and freeing ourselves from judgment about ourselves and others in relationship to us, just letting ourselves become the magnificent beings of love, intelligence, and will that we are capable of, is our purpose. Let's get down to what our job is. Because love has been revealed in this universe as a quality of life, we have to make ourselves aware of it, awaken it in us, become part of our reality, and then we can join the reality of those others who have those 3 things. There aren't a lot of beings running around with other qualities of life out here in this purple area out here. Sorry, I keep doing that. This purple area out there, that's life outside of the cosmic physical universe, the Big Bang group. Whatever qualities are out there, what other aspects of life they're held out there, they are reserved until life determines that it wants to invest them into its cosmic physical universe, because it's ready for it. It's mature enough, and the lives in it are mature enough. Now, there's not any one life, one aspect of life at a time. There are several going on, and they grow in the universe. And you don't introduce the next one until it's time and the other ones have matured themselves sufficiently. So somewhere along the line, life introduced will. And I don't know what it was, I guess a wiggle. And then it introduced intelligence, which gave purpose to the wiggle. But there was no love. There was no love involved in what the wiggle and the purpose were doing, no matter how constructive or destructive. That was what the universe was doing, will and intelligence. The last universe, if you want to put it in those terms. But remember, the Big Bang, we think, is like, oh, that's the whole universe doing exactly the same thing. That's not necessarily how that inner geometry works. We don't know how it works. It might look like that, but there might be 3 different universes simultaneously coming in, and then the next one comes in after that and takes over part of it, and then the third one maybe gets a beginning after the first one is almost ready to finish. So there's lots of things going on these different inner worlds. There may be a universe going on here at the center that won't work its way out to the physical for trillions of years. Trillions. But it's part of what life is revealing to itself gradually from the center outward over a vast period of time. And I think that one of those things like that is engaged in the free will of a human being, especially those human beings on Earth. We have a unique property. We're dumb as bricks when it comes to love, but we're smart as hell when it comes to free will. We know how to use our will to get what we want, with or without love. And that makes us dangerous animals to ourselves and to others. And we can see that. We can see it because we've poisoned ourselves. The unique chemistry of Teflon is in everybody's bloodstream at this point. Because we asked those guys over at DuPont and the Scotch guys that make Scotch tape, those guys, they're smart. They're the best chemists in the world. And we asked them to make something really unique that was slippery. So they did. They made a molecule based on fluoride and carbon and some other things that they tossed in the soup that repels everything. You can't dissolve it in anything. You can't melt it with anything. And so it's great. We can use it for all kinds of shit. We can coat the inside of pipes and stuff just goes right through. We can put it in cooking pans, and then we can physically scrape it off with our fork and eat it and put it in our food. But your eggs won't stick. And so we all experienced this for the last 40 years, maybe the 50s, or they did it probably in the 50s. But now we have this untouchable molecule, this combination of chemistry that only we could cook up in a DuPont laboratory and then license it to people all over the world to use to make billions of dollars. And now it's a toxic chemical inside every body of life on Earth because we don't know what to do with it. There's nothing in us to get hold of it with. The stuff is slippery as hell. So we didn't think about all that. And then by the time the chemists figured out, oh, hell, this could be a problem. This could be a quote unquote forever chemical. That's what makes it a forever chemical, right? You can't break it the hell down. So, but by that time, everybody's using it and we don't have a better one. And if we had a better one, it would probably be a worse forever chemical because this is not natural in nature. This is not something that nature has produced. It's something we produced forcing nature to bond in ways that only we could do in a laboratory. Well, the human race will survive Teflon, as it will survive radiation, as it will survive all the other toxic crap we've done. Probably. We're getting to the point where we got to really start to think about how much we can do this, because we certainly have done it. Toxic pesticides and fire retardants and all of these other things that we have flooded out into our chemistry. The earth is a ball of chemistry circulating within itself through fluids, through water and heat and gas and air. It circulates and circulates, and we eat the food and the fruit, and we drink the milk. And these things are in the food, the fruit, the food, and the milk, as steroids are in cows, because we shot them up with steroids so they'd get big and beefy, and the steroids come with the steak. So we're figuring this stuff out. And by the way, love goes right on loving everybody. DuPont, us, everybody. Because it knows that sooner or later we come to a place of heart where we say, I'm not going to produce any more chemical combinations to coat pans or do other things with, unless I know that harmlessness is built in. I want love to be built in. I want it to either decompose and break down and become a nutrition, or I don't want to put it in the system. Because we only have one well. It's called Earth. That's where all the water that we drink comes from. One well. If we poison that well, which we have done, then we poison everybody. And if we poison them enough, they die. Mercury poisoning's not good in people. Lead poisoning's not good. So we need to learn about love. We need to learn that it is a way that life has of taking care of itself. Love is a creative power. It can heal anything, which was demonstrated pretty well by the guy who introduced us to it in a dramatic way. Jesus went about making water into wine, and then he got off into healing people with leprosy and other things. And then eventually, when they decided to do him in, demonstrated the power of love as a resurrective energy. It's really potent because it connects back here to the center and lives from the center simultaneously all the way through every plane and subplane to the exterior. And it's just that out here on the edge in matter, we don't have any awareness of it. We don't remember it. Because when we came out of our soul level, which is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, in this level, actually it's in between this level and this level. When we came out into the physical world, your soul stayed in this world, just as the life out here, when it created the physical universe, stayed out here. It didn't all enter into the physical universe. And that says that though I create the entire universe with a fragment of myself, yet I remain. That's the statement. And your soul makes the same statement. Though I create myself as a human being, I have help, because you have two people who hook it up, and then they've got an egg going, and pretty soon that egg is born into a human being through a mother, and it develops a personality of its own. But that personality is a reflection in matter of something living here in this little zone right here, which is itself a creation of something living up here in this zone of spirit. And you have all of that in you. But you're not using all of that in you. You're not conscious of it in you. And so the properties and powers of love in all of this and the properties of spirit way up here are not getting out of your skin into the world. Not totally, because people have spirit. People have love. They love their children. They love their creations. They love their art. They love beauty. They love truth. They love love itself. So we're coming to understand that we love things, and that means that we have love, and that love is a power, but we don't know how to include the power of it so that it becomes transformative through us of other things. And the ego of our mind, of our personality at this stage, says, well, I want to turn water into wine because I'd like a good Beaujolais. But love's not concerned about that. It didn't turn water into wine so that those guys would have a Pinot Noir at the wedding with Jesus. It was a different motivation in it, based on family and marriage and love and his relationship to all of that, and their all relationship to each other, and the demonstration that love felt worthy of expressing. And so it comes about. It came about as a harmony with love and a demonstration of the one who had love in him and all of that. So when you put all of that together, these jugs of water get converted into wine by love, not by this Jewish kid who's 30, he's not a kid, but it happens because of his relationship to that in him, which entered him when his buddy John baptized him down at the River Jordan. So there's a story in this that winds its way into human expression and experience, which is an astounding story. So astounding that a lot of the human race goes, ah, that's bullshit. That can't be true. Well, the universe is true. It actually exists in all of its incredible splendor. So don't think that can't be true, along with many other stories that we don't know about. You don't know what Hercules actually did when he did his 12 labors, but he was demonstrating something very important and very human. And until you learn what that was and avail yourself of his strength and courage and realize you can do what he did, and you want to do what he did because love is important to you, what difference does it make what he did, or if he did, or even if he ever lived? Which he did live. It's just a long time ago. So long ago that even the Indian guys barely remembered him and have him in their Mahabharata, and there are places where he's talked about under other names, or in the Greek legends and Roman legends under other names, perhaps. But see, that's just only because it was a long time ago, not because it wasn't very important. At the time it happened, it was damned important. The whole group was. All the Greek gods were really important at the time. They were the latest kids on the block. So now we have love in the world with us. And we have a terrible tragedy unfolding in the world, which is a group collapse of a civilization we have all built together. And you can think that Angola is not so connected to the world structure, but everything is now. The internet is everywhere. Shipping is everywhere. You can turn over go down to Ralph's and go through the grocery store and you'll find something from damn near every nation. There's something coming here from Africa that's going into our produce or production. You can go to an Ethiopian restaurant. You can go to a Brazilian restaurant. You've got lots of options to interact with the whole world from the United States or from any other country in the world. So it's all one civilization with different countries and different unities and different relationships. And it's collapsing. The whole thing is collapsing because it's not founded on love. It was never founded on love. It was always founded on strength and will. Will and intelligence built these countries. Some of them incorporate love more than others, depending on how Christian the country was, or Judaic the country was, or some other ism that people like each other in. Some of the isms aren't so bad. They like each other in them. Some of them fight with each other in them. The Muslim religion doesn't have as much of a strength related to love because they kind of push the Christian guy out for their Mohammed guy, who, if he lived, was probably a very loving guy. But the people that are incorporating that religion into their life don't have quite as much personal love in themselves and have certain ideas about being made victims of other people that makes them angry or revengeful or whatever happens that makes us as a group harm each other. Now, the Judaic culture produced the guy from Abraham to Jesus. They produced a guy who could demonstrate love in himself. But it was so profound a creation that even they didn't realize it. So we've been spending 2,000 years figuring all that out and learning what it means. But the civilization we built was founded on power, money, guns, and lawyers, as I like to say. And that civilization will not endure because it does not have unity in it, which is a property of love. It doesn't have transformation and transmutation in it as aspects of itself, which love holds, comes with it. And it doesn't have as much grace in it as love holds, because love is grace. So if we take this failing civilization that's collapsing around us and we start to build love into it, elect people who respect love to run it, appoint people in jobs who have a sense of love towards each other and their job, then we're going to start putting that magically into the system, and it will stop its collapse through transformation and transmutation and unity. The United Nations is a statement of something that is hoped to become a unifying power in the human race. And it shouldn't be thrown out because it's not doing its job. You should realize that a child doesn't do anything. It's worthless. Children are worthless. But when they grow up, they can make a choice. And when the United Nations grows up to becoming a qualified positive influence through its desire of the nations for it to be so, then it will become a splendid structure. It won't try to take over running the world. It will take over advising the world how to help each other up out of despair, disease, want, need, anger, frustration, all of the things that we would hope good neighbors would do, the United Nations can do. And that's in it. And some of the organizations that it supplies things to do that very well already. And some of them don't. Some of them are tempted to be taken over by certain nations that want to influence it in their behalf more than just enough. They want more influence than just enough. And so those things have to be weeded out and cleaned up and the whole thing elevated. And maybe we get rid of it trying to be the policeman of the world and let the United Nations become what it's designed to be, which is the heart of the world acting intelligently and wisely towards itself. It's a good place, run badly, which is not a reason to destroy it. I don't know what McDonald's burgers tasted like when they were first invented. I don't remember having gone back that far, although I probably had it. I think I was living probably in Alaska when they were invented and never saw one, but maybe they've improved over time. Maybe they've gotten worse. Without loving animals, organizations like the Colonels and McDonald's can become very questionable as food sources for the rest of us if they don't take a certain sense of mercy and love and humility towards their animals that they feed the rest of us. But that's true of all farmers and all farming, and the elevation of the human race to grow itself out of eating animals will eventually produce those results. But they can't be legislated. You can't just suddenly have a party like we've been trying to do lately that says, oh, we decided that it's in the human interest rate to not have meat, so we're going to outlaw meat. Nobody's going to eat any more meat. We figured it out. The cows fart too much. Meat's not good for us. So now what would that do? That would disrupt the entire planet, cause great distress and famine and chaos. although it might please the ego of somebody who thinks they have a visionary aspect. But most of the time, human race is too short-sighted to realize what's engaged in the eating of meat, killing of animals, because they don't understand the laws of karma. They don't understand the nature of love and how it manifests itself in the universe and how it evolves animals upward through their suffering. And that animals not having self-conscious awareness, well, they can suffer if you shoot an arrow into them and then have them run 10 miles before they bleed out and die. Yes, they can suffer, but they don't think about their suffering. They don't have fear about their suffering in terms of, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. They will just live until they die, which doesn't make it an enviable thing to do. It does make it suffering, and it does make hunting for sport a questionable decision in terms of cruelty and love of animals. But everyone must grow to that themselves. I grew up in Alaska. We lived off of the animals around us, and I never liked it. As a child, I never liked it. As a child, you couldn't take me hunting. They tried. I fired my first shotgun when I was so young that I had to put it in the crotch of a tree, and it knocked me on my ass. But what it was, a 12-gauge shotgun. Pretty good, pretty hefty kick. But you couldn't take me out to shoot the teal and the ducks because I felt sorry for them right from the very beginning. Now, and I felt sorry for fish, and I felt sorry for every other damn thing we killed and ate, which was deer and geese and fish and crabs and everything you can think of in Alaska, because you can't grow anything. If you try to do a garden, the deer come down and trample over all your fencing, because you don't go down to Home Depot when you live on an island in Alaska. You wait a month for the mailboat to come and bring you something from a Sears catalog if you're lucky. So it's rough living on the earth without participating in this barbaric custom of skinning out critters and eating them. I've plucked a lot of ducks and geese, but doesn't mean I liked it, and it doesn't mean, and there's a place in the heart of every human being that feels a relationship to that thing that it's killing. And so a lot of people are very sensitive to that, farmers especially, who raise animals knowing they're going to have to whack them in another 6 months or a year and eat them, sell them, they're to be killed. So they treat them right. They treat them with courtesy, and they give them good food, and they end up being good bacon somewhere down the line. And then there are people who just will gut shoot a moose and leave it to run and die and leave it the meat because they never wanted it anyway. They don't want to eat moose meat. They'd rather go get filet mignon. So, and some wild game is a little gamey, I'll admit, even for me. But back to love. Love is something that the Love Foundry wants to encourage people to increase in themselves to the point where it becomes a power to transform your life. Not to convince you not to hunt deer, which are a beautiful creature and sensitive and good eating, but to eventually learn how to love yourself in a way that you can produce everything you need, and you can take care of the deer, and you can live in harmony with nature, and we become shared owners of the earth. That's a positive future that will occur someday down the line. But you can't force your neighbor to do that because you don't like him out there hunting in the woods, particularly because a bullet will go, a half a mile and still kill you, when his kid's out there with a 30-06 shooting a deer instead of going up into the mountains where it's reasonably safe to not kill anybody. I mean, when I lived in logging camps and you see that we're closer to civilization, and you see hundreds and hundreds of hunters with little red hats on driving up into the woods with their licenses to go deer hunting, everybody knows, watch out, your dogs, your cows, your kids, everybody's liable to get shot during deer season. And so because they didn't grow up in those woods and they don't have the same gun consciousness, they bought a gun and out of a catalog, and they maybe have never shot it before. They just get a couple of boxes of cartridges and they head up in the woods. And if they haven't been in war, then they don't know what bullets can do. They don't recognize how much foot power, pounds per foot power a bullet has, and what it can go through on the way to something that will finally stop it. If you see a 50 caliber machine gun go off and you watch what happens when the bullets hit hard objects, you realize, wow, that thing can go 3 miles before it stops. And it can go through a lot of things on the way. Very powerful. So human race is a dangerous animal. But as we cultivate love in us, we're going to soften that in ourselves. We're going to want to become more powerfully creative with love and less harmful thereby. And we have to surrender that part of us which likes to harm, likes to shoot things, likes to kill things. Not that there's anything wrong with shooting. Shooting a target is just shooting a target. Developing a skill, like throwing a baseball. Shooting at living things, that's takes you into another category. And I know I have done that a lot. And I've been at war, and I know a lot about how that impacts humans and how it impacts our development with love. So that's called being human. And there's no crime against being human, because we all got here from somewhere way in the past, where we were whittling spears to try to survive against creatures that were 10 times our size and hungry as hell. They don't have to be even 10 times your size. If you've ever seen a saber-toothed tiger down there at the La Brea tar pits, they get the skeletons out of the tar pits, and then they build the cat around it that it had, with fangs that are hung down this far out of its jaw. And that thing makes it a modern day cat, modern day lion, look like a pussycat. And 40,000 years ago, they were running around Los Angeles. And so were a lot of native Indians. 40,000 years ago, there were camels in Los Angeles and people. And these saber-toothed tigers were pretty freaking deadly. And if you had to go out with a spear to hunt them, or a bow and arrow, you might not come back. So, and that was just recently. Humans have been around. They found those footprints in New Mexico that go back, what, million years. We've been around a long time, walking around with cave bears and if you've ever seen an up-close grizzly bear in Alaska, you'll realize this is a powerful creature. I've seen a grizzly it was killed by a ranger, but it was 12 feet to the shoulder, 13 and a half feet to its top of its head standing up. And it had the remains of 3 human beings in it. So these creatures can get pretty potent. So how do we bring love alive in us to deal with these great creatures, each other, and the world around us full of chemicals and things, in a way that love puts the brakes on all this harm, all this hostility, all this hatred, all of this animosity and negativity and destruction that's going on? Well, we grow it personally in ourselves, and through ourselves, we release it into the world toward others, and let them, in their own free will, respond as they will. That's what we do. And eventually, it will grow into all of the human race, and it will become realized that your life so improves with the energy of love pouring out of you, animating in you, that you want it in you. You don't want to give it up. You wouldn't. Look, it's like, Taylor lives in Hawaii. She likes it in Hawaii. If she was living in Beirut somewhere, she might say to you, gee, I'm not giving up Hawaii. I like it here. Well, love is like that. When love is radiating out of you, wherever you live is Hawaii. It's a beautiful place because you're invoking love from everything around you. Nature, supernature, other people, animals, your own family. Your own power to create what you need is pouring out of you and bringing it to you. Now, you don't get that instantly because we have so many bridges to cross to get to that full relationship with love from our past, acting against love, that it takes quite a while to mature that in the average human being. But some have done a lot of work towards that, deliberately, consciously. Albert Schweitzer spent a lifetime trying to help the human race be healthier, be better. It counts a lot towards maybe a previous lifetime where he was harming the human race by doing something else. So life offers forever and forever a way to redeem our past choices, which we are responsible for, to love. There's no shortage of creativity and love to bring us out of the dark and into a loving freedom to express it in the material world without any resistance. That's a goal to be looked towards because it can be accomplished. And I don't care, any prisoner in prison who's committed the worst crimes that we can imagine, and many have, they still have that path of redemption open to them by love. Just stop where you are and turn your attention into this vast creative power and the place from which it comes, and you'll find it welcomes you into its arms. It will inform you because it has agencies of informing power, like the angel of death, who is a great angel which can inform you of your responsibility to love, usually after death, but it can do that. Because it knows it's a vast being who helps the soul of a being, of any being, release itself from the physical world. Anywhere in the world where it's time for that to happen, that angel is invoked and that property is carried forth, and you are released out of the prison of matter. This is part of the process of love. It is a loving thing. Might not look like that when you see that thing swinging down out of the clouds for you, swinging low, sweet chariot, but it is. It is. It always is. It's ultimately beneficial because it ends only that cycle of your life. And if you're a miserable person suffering from all kinds of boils like Job, or you're old and you're tired and you had enough of this weary world, then it's like, yeah, all right, what the hell, let's go. But if you're young and at the height of beauty and fame and glory and rich as Croesus, it really seems like a rude imposition on a life that's going along pretty well. And there's always a reason for these interruptions. And they are guided by and inspired by love towards a greater end than we can see at this point of the universe. So we have to bear with it because we can't change the laws that govern love, but we can enter into relationship with it and let it work in our behalf, on our behalf. And because it brings the healing powers into us, we can live a healthy life with it. We don't have to suffer from debilitating diseases unless we push love away, push your own soul away, which administers love to you from within you by its relationship to you. If we push those things off by our actions against the nature of love, then disease is an automatic creation by doing that. Life has consequences. If you hate anything in this world long enough, some part of your total anatomy is going to have a shadow develop around it, a cataract in the eye, a tumor in the brain, a shadow in the lung. Somewhere in our anatomy, that constant hatred, that constant anger, that constant fear, that constant negative emotion is going to start to gather storm clouds on the emotional body and it will show up in a reflective position in the physical body. And then we'll say, how did I get this dis-ease? Okay, if we go back and look what we did to create it, it's not such a mystery. And rather than figure out every possible disease and how to avoid it, you can open a relationship to love and avoid them all by simply meeting life with love and not allowing yourself to administer hatred or revenge or resentment or rejection or negative judgment or all those things. You don't have to do that. That's a volunteer activity. So at the Love Foundry, there's 3 levels of this. One level is becoming aware that love is real. Most of the human race doesn't know that. They might believe in God and they hope that God is love. They might believe that, but they don't know it. And they don't see it. And they don't have open in themselves the kingdom of that so that they can look in there and go, wow, there he is. We just don't have that done in us yet. So they need a lesson that takes them towards the next lesson. And the next lesson is, oh my God, it's real. Love is real. God is real. Life is full of things that are real that I didn't even know existed. Not just that all the conspiracy theories are true, because most of them are in some form or another, but love itself is true. It's in the universe. It's coming out of life, and it's available to us once we become aware of it and start to build it into our expression and experience. That's a human gift to us from love, once our free will says yes to it. And I mean yes in the affirmative way. You know, when your girlfriend says, what do you think, Bobby? Should we get married? And she's fishing because maybe she doesn't know what you feel about her. And you're thinking, what the hell did she just say? Marriage. Oh my God, that's like a permanent thing, isn't it? And kids and stuff. And I don't have enough money. I'm working at McDonald's. I can't afford kids and her and all that stuff. And her parents don't have any money. I'm not marrying into fortune. But we say, well, gee, that sounds like a good idea. Let's talk about that sometime. That's not the kind of yes you have to give to love if you want it to be dynamic in you. We have to be stronger than that. And that takes learning. You got to get to know the girl before you want the girl to move in with you and mess up your bathroom and wear your shirts and do all of these things. So that takes getting to know them. And love is no different, because it's love in them that we're looking for to begin with. And we've all learned, as guys, we've learned this, because they're beautiful, at least to us beautiful, it doesn't mean there's love in them. It doesn't mean they're nice. They can be cold as ice, hard as nails, and a sheet of ice on a hairpin turn and be a really stunningly beautiful girl. So love is a quality that we have learned over time that we would like it to come with beauty, but roses have thorns. But every beautiful thing has love in it. It may not know it. And if you are going to marry a woman and you're a guy, then you better make it your responsibility to find love in that person and bring it to the surface of them and help them become a loving being. That's your job. Job 1. Help them recognize and realize love in their life. So if you're not bringing that with you, at least be bringing the intention to find it and do it. So out here on the surface of the Love Foundry is the first lesson, which is learn how to realize love is real. And that means practice towards it until it reveals itself. Don't learn something intellectual. Don't think you're going to go read a book on by a Buddhist of some kind or some other guru, and that's going to give you love. It may give you some information that person holds in their mind about love, but your own experience is the only thing that's going to bring it out of the invisible and into your life. Your actions with it based on choices you make to include it somehow in what you're doing. So learning that is lesson 1. Lesson 2 comes with the deeper realization from having continuously looked within yourself at the edge of your senses. Your sense of smell, your sense of touch, your sense of taste, your sense of eyes, everything that you have, your ears, they have an edge to them. That's as sensitive as you are. But there's an inner level of each of those senses that is virtually unawakened in 90% of the human race, 90 plus. In some people, it opens prematurely and it makes them appear mad or overwhelmed by information coming into their consciousness from someplace they don't really know how to manage or govern or understand, because an inner sense opened up to the inner world of sound, the inner world of sight, the inner world of touch or smell or any of those things that are the seven senses. So the 5 physical senses and common sense and intuitive mind. So you don't want these inner senses to open prematurely. They need to open when you're ready to start looking through the window out into the inner world. This out here, right next to that, is the astral world, which is filled with shit because it's still a material world. It has a lot of negative things in it because they're not built with love, but they're in there. There are things in the astral plane that go back countless centuries to beings that built them in that world as devices or tools or entities of seeming entities of life. It's like artificial intelligence. Once you get it going in a computer, it can answer questions, but it itself is not a living thing. It's just a programmed energy that will give responses based on your input. And there are things in the astral plane, the emotional world, which are kind of built that way. They were built by minds or beings in previous centuries from ours that worked on technology that to us would look like magical technology or something, where they created entities to serve them. They synthesized energies, they put energies together, they made them work in ways that today in our material world we don't even understand. And to some degree, some of those things persist in the astral plane, and they can be attracted to negative things, negative thinking, negative things. And that's why the warnings to the human race to not just step into and romance the astral plane, even though further inward here you get to love itself, which is where you want to be. There's dangers on the way to that you don't know about. So we tell children, don't go in that place because you don't know what's in there. Well, that's the way we've treated the astral plane with superstition and things like that. At the same time, once we learn how to manage astral or emotional worlds, we can enter them. We can now go there and we can feel safe, or we know how to safeguard ourselves on our way to the mental world, which has its own entities, and then into the Buddhic world where love rules. And these angels and angelic beings don't, even though they may be very powerful and potent and really weird looking, they don't have harm in them towards us, which doesn't mean their potency can't sweep you away. The tidal wave doesn't have any intention to harm you, but it sure as hell can. So great spiritual forces are to be reckoned with precisely, thoughtfully, spiritually. Be wise. But you can't spend the rest of eternity out here in the material world. We have got to venture inward towards these higher spiritual levels so that we can become empowered by them ourselves, learn how to function there as beings who are welcome there. I don't want to go live in the middle of the Okefenokee swamp because I don't know how to avoid stepping on the top of an alligator thinking it's a log. I don't know how to avoid the snakes. I don't know how to avoid the mosquitoes that have malaria. I don't know how to survive in that swamp. Now, I come from Alaska, where I grew up with grizzly bears, giant cats that will just scare the shit out of you, but no poisonous snakes. So I can live in that country. I can live in a country that will freeze you to death if you're outside too late, because at 50 below zero, you better know where you're going, because you're not going to survive to get there if it isn't really close by, or you have some serious gear. So, and you better not run, because you'll frostbite your lungs and that will kill you. So all of these things are, it's life. It's life living on Earth. And when you grow up in it, you kind of know your way around. And if one of your friends comes from down in the lower 48 to stay with you, and it happens to be winter, then when you take them out to fish with them, I remember I went out with my cousin in his boat at 5 a.m. It's the summer in this time. And he said, let's go fishing. We'll go out at 5 a.m. We'll fish for 3 hours. Then I'll start work, because the sun's up at 3 a.m. and it goes down at 10:30 or 11 at night. It's like, holy mackerel. So we go out and we're out there fishing away, and I'm having a good time. And he suddenly fires up the boat and he said, we got to get out of here. And now we'd just gone out of, I was in Ketchikan, Alaska, and we'd gone out of the harbor and around the island that's right opposite Ketchikan. So we were on the other side of that island, out in the Puget Sound, fishing, not that far, maybe half an hour away, 20 minutes away. But he said, we got to get out of here. And I said, what's up? And I looked around, and there was really not a cloud in the sky. I mean, it's always cloudy in Alaska, but nothing dramatic. And he said, see those little white tips on the water? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, we'll be climbing the waves when the time we get back to Ketchikan. And we were. That was a little boat, but we were climbing them up and going down the other side. That's what you have to know if you're going to live up there and go out fishing at 5 a.m. So, and that's true everywhere in the world. The desert will kill you. The mountains will kill you. The ocean will kill you. So people that live there and grow up there, they know that. They thrive there. They, go talk to the Norwegians. Those guys know what the North Sea can do. But they thrive there. So love is no different. It will guide you into these inner kingdoms, but they are new territories of consciousness. And you need to know what you're doing there and what you're interacting with. And that takes learning. And that learning comes from teachers who have already been there, who are lived there. And there are a number of them on the planet, and they're around here and there. And some of them are masters of love, and they've lived in those inner kingdoms for centuries and centuries. And it will be an amazing revelation to the human race to realize that the Buddha and Jesus are not the only people that live in those inner worlds and know all about it, which is logical, because they've all had students and disciples and friends through the centuries of life that they have all lived, who have grown up with them and become leaders in those worlds. And because humanity isn't interested in those worlds, they don't talk about it on YouTube. There's a few people that will talk about things about those guys on YouTube. I might myself talk about some of those that I know of or have met or are friends with, but they don't, because they're busy. They're busy teaching the students. They do have things that they need to learn so that they can be effective at love out here where we live. Because bringing love from way up here in spirit all the way out to here is every human's responsibility and duty. And because there are 8 billion of us on the planet and very few of us are doing that, there's a lot of it needed, a lot more of it needed. Now, it's about to burst forth like a blossoming flower. It's starting to open. And when it opens up, there will be thousands of humans crossing the bridge with people, showing the people out here what it looks like in here, and helping them bridge these little billions of bridges all the way around the human race. And every culture, in every religion, and every philosophy build the bridge from your material ideas inward to where love rules. And when enough of those bridges are built, then more love flows out into the conscious awareness of people, and the world starts to calm down and settle down, and we start to realize that there is a unity here, that we can work in harmony, and that we can set up governments and religions and all the other systems so that they thrive. They actually just thrive with other people, and beautiful productivity is the result. And we stop fighting and arguing about whether we have too much carbon in the air. So all of this is knowable, all of this is doable, all of this is coming. And right now, it's time for every human being, if they have a heart and a brain working at least a little together, to start growing this information in ourselves. And I have learned that it grows best through taking action. There isn't any one thing we're going to learn. There's not one message that everyone is going to get. I mean, yeah, love is real. That's a message. But how you relate to it and how you unfold it in your life, that's unique to your life. And it is your free will that will unfold it into your life and release the magic of your own story. Each individual is a key to a part of the universe. And that key was created way in here a long time ago so that you could eventually unfold it into the group experience and reveal a specific, unique property of life and love and divine being to others. And together, with all of those keys unfolded, we can produce a magnificent expression of human experience. So magnificent that the planet Earth can be a lighthouse out to the universe. That's the future for humanity. And it is already seen in the mind and the heart of those who have that long vision. That long, long vision where we all finally unfold love in ourselves, unfold wisdom in ourselves, and we work as a unit in harmony with love, and we start demonstrating the great depth of magnificent eternality that lives in each of us. So going from the first lesson, which is, gee, I wonder if love is real, I better start treating people better in case it is, to, oh my God, it's real. And it's in there somewhere. And my senses can perceive it if I open them up to it. That requires an entirely different lesson, which we can teach you. I can teach you. I can help you learn by giving you the experiences that will help you realize it. I do telepathic meditations. I do meditations with groups. And in those meditations, if I'm the one leading them, I'm looking in the inner worlds and I'm relating those beings in the inner worlds, whether it be it the whoever it is, whatever it is, outward to the group so that we can bridge from the inner world to the outer world into the greater understandings that live in those worlds. That's a talent or an ability or a capacity that I have worked at consciously for 60 years of this life and probably in some other period of time. And I can now trust at least that much to be productive and creative. Okay. And I'll be out of this lifetime before I ever get where I want to be with it. But in the doing of that, I've realized other beings that are far greater than I am in it, as I am from the dullest human on the earth. So that's fine. I'm progressing, you're progressing, they're progressing. We're all going the direction of wide open relationship to love and to the greater learnings and lessons of the spiritual kingdoms. So be patient with yourself, but start at that next lesson the moment that inside you realize it's true. It's true. Love's in there. The Christ, whatever that is in there somewhere. The Buddha, whatever he's doing now, is in there somewhere. And it's all alive, and it's all in relationship to you to the degree that you are in relationship to it. If you shut it all out, deny its existence, then you live with a bag over your head. If you take the bag off and start opening your inner senses and start trying to have an honest and open relationship with love and with wisdom, then it's going to come into you, like pour in on you. So that's the second lesson. which just is an outgrowth of the first one. And the third lesson is power. Power comes from that, power comes from that center. Well, actually, this circle here with the yellow guys in it, I'm just using it as a symbolic thing because it just works out that way. Whoever did this mandala in this cloth, that's taken from some Hindu mandala probably. Anyway, this sixth level of a 7-leveled universe is where power comes to us personally as human beings. That's where your spirit, your individualized spirit self, they call that a monad in the esoteric world. Your monad, which means one, monad is from Latin, which means mono, which means one. That's where your oneness is created out of all of this out here in the universe. And it's a living thing. It's a living creation of that, not from it, of it. It's 3 energies of life from this place, which is will, love, and intelligence, circulating inside of you in a little whirlpool that continuously pulls it in. And it pulls in the amount that you can intelligently, evolutionary-wise, give to your soul nature, which is out here at this level here in the red there, which can in turn give it to your personality level out there on the edge as you live your lifetime. Now, the spirit being created here, now how did that get created? Well, esoterically speaking, from the people who live in that world, what their point of view is, and they've all kind of agreed on it themselves, and this was learned in the Hindu civilization because they're the ones that spent time figuring this out. Incredibly sensitive and intelligent minds in the early days, the Buddhist days, 10, 15,000 years ago. They figured it out. This is where that is and how it all relates and how it grows and evolves and develops. And they have written it down. That's what it was never written down in the earliest days. It was just passed down from teacher to student, oral traditions. And then eventually in symbolic language, Senzar or Sanskrit, they started creating the Mahabharata and the books of the ancient Hindus, Patanjali and some of the others. They started giving it out because the material world was ready to at least familiarize themselves with the ideas behind the words. They never wrote them down because words are symbols and symbols don't communicate what the words communicate. So if I speak a word to you, stop, I say stop to somebody, it gives the energy of what the word is to someone. They don't have to interpret STOP as coming to a halt. It says it itself. That's the meaning behind the word. And we are all familiar enough with the word stop to know the meaning. But even if someone in another language says halt in German or Russian or Hungarian, you're going to know what that means because you feel the impact of the meaning, which is like, whoa, hold on. And so making a symbol like a stop sign, then I have to interpret the stop sign into a meaning, or STOP in English, into a meaning, which is bring yourself to a halt. So I'm one step away from the actual meaning of the word. Now, if you can live in the world of meaning, you wouldn't need words. You would just swap meanings. And in that world, by the way, telepathically, they who are good at it do that. They swap ideas and meanings. There is the idea, and then there is the meaning of the idea, and then there is the form of the meaning, the stop sign. So the further we go in towards monad up here, the more you have to upgrade yourself in terms of understanding communication in these levels and how these levels communicate to one another. Because if you get up into the world of spirit, you're not going to see very much. There aren't any park benches up there. So you have to learn how to live in those worlds. And that takes a lot of time. And that's why it's a good thing that you're going to be a human being for a long time. Lifetime after lifetime. We're going to be human beings until we learn all of this and reach a place where we're tired of being a human being. We're finished with being a human being. And even when we're done with all of that, we have to ask ourselves, do I have to keep coming back to help other people like the Buddha did or the Christ did or somebody like that? Can we just finally get done with this human physical being thing? Because over here is a lot of fun, and I want to go up here where I'm having a lot more fun. But until that becomes fun for you, till it becomes a place where you're comfortable living and you're enjoying the company of your friends who live there with you, because everybody on earth already lives in this circle here as a soul being at one stage of development or another, and up here as a monadic being waiting for their human being to grow up and unify all three of them into one being. But when we make contact with this part of ourselves, this monadic self, which in the Buddhist conversation or Hindu conversation is the jewel of the lotus. See, the lotus is the way you describe a human soul. They call that the lotus because it looks like a lotus. It's a 12-petal flower-looking thing, the soul of a human, and it's evolving and growing and unfolding its petals of love, will, and intelligence, and then eventually revealing the jewel of the lotus, which is this monadic spirit, to flood through all of that. And eventually, by that time, reach out here to the personality and turn you into some sort of phenomenal human being on the earth. So that's kind of where we're going. And it's a long game. And that's fine. You don't have to worry about the long game. A lot of religions will be come and gone, whether we participate in them or not, over the centuries that will unfold before we become fully unfolded ourselves. So don't worry about it. Carry on. It's one divine process in this solar system unfolding itself on this planet in a safe and continuous way. Well, it's not exactly safe because the human beings on this planet are not safe. All these inner spiritual worlds, very safe because they operate in harmony with love. Out here, where humans are, that would be safe too. It's the wilderness, but the wilderness, I grew up in wilderness. It can be very safe. I never felt unsafe in the wilderness unless the hunters were on. So it's humans out here acting against the will of love that makes it unsafe. It can be dangerous. You can step in a quicksand in Alaska that it's not called quicksand, it's a bog. But it looks like you could put your weight on it, but when you do, down you go, and you can easily be swallowed. So nobody said it was safe for every animal, but it's not consciously working against you. It's not hunting you to kill you and eat you, except the grizzly bears and a few other human beings that maybe be mad at your tribe. So out here in the frontier, there's a lot of taming with love that needs to happen. And that's the Little Prince. The story of the Little Prince is basically a story of taming, learning to take care of the lesser lives and have humility towards them and be inspired by your ability to husband them towards maturity and a greater step of being, and thereby enjoy life, have joy in living life in the absence of violent energy. And if we have an appetite for violent energy, then we have to tame that appetite. We have to cultivate a transformation of that in ourselves. And having been through war and been through violence and been through a number of difficult situations, I can tell you it's a work, it's a job, it's hard to do. But if you want to do it, it will release the power of this inner place out here in the outer place of you and empower you to deliver love as a spirit energy into the life around you, to inspirit the life around you, and cause it to give you out of itself what you need, not because you demand it, but because you invite it and invoke it with love in a way that it gives it forth to you. The abundance of the earth will come forth to you in the mysterious ways that do those things for us, and our life works out. And there's a lot of people in the world who have no sense of power because they have been trained by the history of humanity to think that money, guns, and lawyers is where you get power. It's what you know, not who you know. It's your power over others. It's how smart you are. Can you invent something? See, all of these material ideas of how to get what you want are investment of energy into forces. But the power of love works in an entirely different and more mysterious way through our nature and doesn't take other people's resources for our own, because we won. We won the pot. Our stock went up and their stock went down. We gained and they lost. Whatever the thing is that, and that's not always true, by the way, of the stock market. You know, if you bought stock in Tesla, your stock's worth a lot more. Ask Elon. And so you can sell some of that stock and buy something else if you want. But that's forces growing and graduating with other forces. The application of love is a different type of manifestation, which does not mean that Elon is not generating love and manifestation. I mean, he is worth 300 and something billion now. So there's energy at work in him. And I don't even know that he understands that energy is love, but I do believe that he has a love in him of the human race, which compels him to strive to do things that will be in its benefit. I think Henry Ford felt that way about the human race. He wanted to put the world on wheels, and he did. And so we don't have to have any conscious awareness of how all of this works to have a relationship with love. Love doesn't care whether you know anything about it. It cares whether you act in harmony with it. You can learn about it later, and will, and that it's an aspect of life, that life itself has love and gives it to the universe. So that's an inner lesson. The third lesson is how to make this a mature activity of interaction between us as human beings, the beings that live in these levels and these inner levels, and how they interact with human beings on the outer levels. That involves the hierarchy of the planet. That involves the spiritual lives of the planet and those spiritual beings that have come to the planet to help humanity become invested in love and grow into a positive, healthy thing, and get rid of the negativity and the evil that hangs out around the planet as an absence of love from our past. Sweep that out. So all of that is a process in motion by great spiritual beings who we don't even participate with. We don't even know if they're there. We don't even know if they're real. But once you know they're real, then you can interact with them. Then you can say, hey, I'm in, I'll help. What can I do for you? And what can you do for me? And how can we help everybody around us? Then it becomes a positive planetary field. So that's what we're doing at the Love Foundry. And we would like help from others to grow those three lessons, which are all one lesson. In my mind, they're one lesson, but they may have to be taught as three lessons, or maybe one lesson taught at 3 different levels at the same time. I'm not sure. I'm working it out. I'm not in a hurry. I may be gone before it ever really matures, but somebody will take my place because humanity is on its way to love. There's nowhere else to go because we're missing it, and it's part of life in play. It's already in play in the universe. So all we can do is realize it's available to us personally, as a group, and as all of us together. So let's work toward that realization. And it doesn't have to be called love. It's not even called love in a lot of areas. It's called magnetic attraction. It's the waters of life that the whole universe lives in. And their individualized consciousnesses of great beings function in and with it in a 100% positive shared way. Humanity, being unconscious of the energy of love, means that we're not functioning in reality. We're functioning in an illusion about reality that pretends that the power of love is non-existent in us or around us, which is not true. Ducks fly. They fly because their instinct with love in it gives them that ability. Everything in the universe is functioning in harmony with love, including us. We just don't know it. So karma intervenes to give us lessons where we refuse the lesson of love. We shoot that guy when we're robbing the gas station. Then an event is created in our future to help us learn a lesson we just violated. We broke that person's free will. We violated their free will. We stole resources that don't belong to us that we haven't earned, and we ran away. Okay, well, that demonstrates that there's some things we don't know about love, because love will give you all the resources you need, so you didn't need to shoot the guy and rob the gas station. But we didn't know that. Now, that doesn't make the person who did that a disciple of hell, where that's their only future. It does mean they have a debt to that person they shot and that person's family and this world of humans, and a debt to the resources they stole, the guy that owns the gas station. All of that is accounted for by life, because life is paying attention to every act of omission and commission. All of it is accounted for, every jot and tittle, as they say. And so karma, which is the strange mechanism that love uses, delivers us a lesson that says, oh, okay, that being, it's pretty clear that being doesn't know something about love. So karma has to cook up a lesson for us to bring us around to realizing that. And that lesson can be harsh. In other words, you can be on the receiving end of a robber in a gas station and shot to death. Now you would think, well, that will just keep carrying this on and on and on. Yes, it looks like that. And it's a long and deep game. But life has no other way to teach you except to give you experience after experience after experience, until finally you realize, there's something wrong with this. I need to have a better way of doing things than ending up doing 10 years in Juliet because I shot somebody in a gas station. How can I get the money I need? I didn't need to shoot anybody. I didn't really want to go in there and shoot somebody, particularly somebody that I don't even know and I'm not mad at, but that's what I ended up doing. And then there were some other people there, and I thought I might as well shoot them because they're witnesses. So, but we finally come to the place where we would rather receive what we need some other way. And a lot of people are lazy. They don't want to go to work. They think robbing a gas station's less work than earning that money. How much are you going to get robbing a gas station? It's one thing to make a $500 million by stealing somebody's crypto, that's a risk that may be worth it. But robbing a gas station, how much are you going to get? A few $100? But that's what I need to get gas in my car and get out of town before the police catch me for other things that I've done. So we do these crimes, but it's all kept track of. And experiences are worked out, not for next week, maybe 1,000 years from now, maybe 5 lifetimes from now. But sooner or later, the test of that lesson will come up and say, have you learned this lesson? You'll be back in the fire of your own experience where you say, shit, I really need some money, and there's a gas station over there, and I've got a 45. Why don't I go over there and just lift some money? And then you say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ask the guy if I can clean the place and get $20 worth of gas and get on to the next place, or I'll come up with something different. But I'm not going to do that. Now, that's a major lesson and a major step, and then it's going to get tested. That's how life is. It's tough. This is a tough journey into love. But the moment we face our own past and welcome it to us and realize that whatever happens to us, no matter how ridiculous it looks, we're not a victim of it. We have created that in our life, good or bad. Win the Irish sweepstakes or have someone shoot us in the foot to take our wallet, we created that. And if the first question you ask yourself is, what did I do to create this in my life? Then you're one step closer to love. You're one step closer to taking responsibility for your creative relationship to the energy of love. So these are all the lessons that we learn along the way. And when we put ourselves in a posture in relationship to love, that doesn't mean you have every lesson figured out. That doesn't mean that you're free of all your karma. That doesn't mean that you even understand how love works. You've just put yourself in relationship to it so it can work. And if you can do that, then you can start that going. And then you strengthen that posture. You strengthen that habit in you until you can say to somebody, man, your life's working out really good. What are you doing? Well, I just stay in relationship to love. I don't know anything much about it. I don't know a lot about it. I don't know how it works. I just know if I have gratitude, if I have humility, if I hold myself in forgiveness and in positive relationship to love, wow, the stuff just kind of flows in. And when I get caught in a situation, I don't let go of that posture. I don't get angry at the guy because I put that guy in my life. When someone's yelling at me about something I did or didn't do even, I put that person in my life. I'm the creative energy of my life, not that crazy person on the other corner that's yelling at me. He's responsible for what he's got in his life, and I'm responsible for him being in mine. Now, if I can be of help to him, I will. If I can't be of help to him, I will bless him and let him go his way. But I'm adopting a relationship to these inner worlds of love, and I want them flowing freely to my outer world of expression. And then I want to unify this level in here that is the soul nature of me with that outer personality of me. And I want to finally release that spirit in me through the soul in me to the outer person in me and be a lighthouse of spirit to the world. That's the kind of being I'm headed for. And to the degree I'm committed to that, all of this nature and supernature is bending itself to me to help me. All of it. Even the part you don't think is trying to help you is going to be driven to you to teach you a lesson that you may have yet to learn. And so staying committed to the power of love, which is spirit itself, working through you into the world, is a logical process to engage in. And you don't know how long it will take you. There are human beings being born, children growing up, that are this close. And then there are those who would like to do that, but they're this far away because they've got that much hard rock of past karmic choices to grind their way through, but they will. And maybe they can grind their way through it in one go with dynamite because they sacrificed their life for a group of other people to save the ferry boat or die trying. And suddenly they've balanced all of that. And the next time they're born, they will be ready for that. I don't know. That's all part of what goes on in the mystery of love, God, and karma, and our own nature. So we're not trying to explain how all that works. We're observing it, and we're talking about it, and we're interacting with it, but we're no experts in it. We're only experts at being committed to the idea of a full working relationship with love and with spirit. That we have. Those people who are working with the Love Foundry have that to whatever degree we do. And we may fail in it. We may get mad and look like we don't even know anything about it. But irrespective of what happens on a day-to-day basis, that is our commitment, our long-term commitment. And we know quite a bit about it, surprisingly enough. I know a lot about it because I have read a lot about it by those who have learned a lot about it. And they're in the West and they're in the East and they're all over the place. They go all the way back to Zoroaster and the myths of the Egyptians. They go back to the Chaldeans. They go back to the Christ. They go back to the Zohar. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in the world. Wisdom is everywhere. Experience, human experience, releasing love into intelligent thinking is everywhere if you're open to it. And you can sit down with somebody that you don't think knows much about it and have an amazing revelation with them. You know, and that's the beauty of the internet. And look what the internet can offer you. All those great works of spirituality and fiction and every other kind are in the internet now. They're in artificial intelligence now. If you have a commitment to something as serious as we're talking about here with spirit, if that's your commitment and you act on that commitment, there's an amazing amount of resources that can come to you just in the physical world right now, let alone those spirits, souls, angels, beings that you've never heard of who hear your commitment. They hear your commitment in the language that you don't even know you're speaking when your heart makes a commitment and says, I'm doing that. I'm going to do that. Or die trying or prove it wrong. So that sends out a reverberation in the voice of the heart or the voice of the mind, and it can be heard and seen by beings. And they will respond. They will respond to you. And it will set in motion things that have never been set in motion before based on your commitment. And you will see all achievements in nature join people in that regard. It's someone once said the entire history of the world can be told in one sentence. Who cared about what and how much? That's an expression of what I'm saying. Because somehow things work out. I just read a little story about the Japanese guy who invented the blue diode. It's like a big deal, the blue diode. Well, they invented the red diode, and then they invented a yellow diode. And that's where they were stuck for 20 years. Because turns out it was an obstacle that had to be overcome. And that obstacle could only be overcome by 20 years of this young Japanese guy, who then became an older Japanese guy, never letting sight of the fact that he felt inside himself he could figure it out. And what he had to go through, you can look it up, it's on the YouTube, what he had to go through in those 20 years, his company said, stop that, you're wasting money, quit doing it. If you don't quit doing it, we're firing you. So he had to do it in secret. He had to steal stuff to do it. He had to work on it. He had to go to the company that made the machine that was making the other diodes and learn how that entire machine worked so he could come back, take it apart and improve it, and then go on from there to figure out what kind of metals and rare earth. Oh my God, the chemistry level of it, the mechanical level of it, the courageous level of it is amazing. But when he turned it on, it radiated out this fabulous blue light. And with it, we could have three-dimensional colors on TV screens. We could do millions of things with it. We could put all three together and have white light. It created billions of dollars for his company, which paid him practically nothing for having done all that work. But that's just what it means. Sometimes now, wouldn't you think you'd reward someone who did that, gave your company billions of dollars? But I know they gave him like $1.20 or something. So, but it was the success of his commitment to something that he finally achieved. But what had to join him step by step could not even have been laid out, because he couldn't have imagined that he was going to have to go to Florida and spend a year at the company that makes the machine doing nothing but learning how to be a machine mechanic when he was one of the finest chemists in the world already. So they don't even know who he is. He's just the guy there that's working on the machines, because he's learning it so that his company can buy a machine and take it back to Japan. And then he can take that machine apart and put some little nozzle in there to do something that their machine did not have, which he hadn't even imagined he would need to do. He didn't know what was wrong. He just knew he hadn't gotten there yet. But you see, life knows everything. It knows everything. We're just learning everything. So trusting that mechanism in life, which knows everything, listens to our commitment, and offers us the way to achieve it, whether we're Capone trying to rob a bank, or whether we're this Japanese guy trying to develop a world transforming diode, it's the same principle, the same law, and love is the architect. So let's come into opening ourselves up to these lessons, to this depth of revelation, which is now coming into the world. It's going to come into the world and land like an avalanche on humanity. And eventually, as the Aquarian age gets going, it will become an understood, what I'm saying will become common knowledge in a while. How long that while is, I don't know, because we're busy learning that who killed Kennedy. We're still learning, did we really walk on the moon? We're learning, what did Epstein really have to say, and is Macron's wife really a guy? We're busy revealing the conspiracy theories to the world to find out that our entire world system is crap. That all of these people had multi-levels of deception working for us, that our world leaders knew all this deception was true and they lied to us about all of it. And the UFOs have been around for 50 years and we've just been hiding and playing whack-a-mole with everybody who tries to figure it all out. But that's okay. All of that will be revealed. But with that revelation will come the strength in humanity to reveal love to itself, which will just sweep all that away and make it like nothing. It doesn't even matter. Because the gift of love to humanity is what's pushing all of that out into the light. The truth will be shouted from the rooftops so that truth itself can be realized. And love is real. That's the beauty of it. So let's work on that in ourselves. And if you want any help with it, come hang out with us, follow us, listen to what we're talking about, and it will reveal itself inside of you, because that's where it's going to come from, not from me, not from outside of you, not from a book, not from a guru. It's going to awaken inside of you and reveal itself to you through your actions taken. Thank you. Thanks for this little bit in the full moon of Leo, and we'll talk next time.